Hey, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to learn about how to choose between different storage tiers. As mentioned earlier in this course, Azure Storage offers different access tiers which allow you to store blob object data in the most cost effective manner. The available access tier include hot, cool, and archive. Hot is optimized for storing data that is accessed frequently. Cool is optimized for storing data that is infrequently accessed and stored for at least 30 days. And Archive is optimized for storing data that is rarely accessed and stored for at least 180 days with flexible latency requirements. Let's look at some of the considerations which apply to the access tier. Only the hot and cool access tiers can be set at account level. The archive access tier isn't available at the account level. Hot, cool, and archive tiers can be set at the blob level during upload or after upload. Data in the cool access tier can tolerate slightly lower availability but still requires high durability retrieval latency and throughput characteristics similar to hot data. And archive storage stores data offline and offers the lowest storage cost but also the highest data rehydrate and access cost. Now let us look into support tiering for storage accounts. The hot access tier has higher storage costs than cool and archive tiers. The example usage scenarios for the hot access tier include data that is in active use or expected to be accessed frequently, and data that's staged for processing and eventual migration to the cool access tier. Now let us look into cool access tier. The cool access tier has lower storage cost and higher access cost compared to hot storage. This tier is intended for data that will remain in the cool tier for at least 30 days. Some of the usage scenarios for cool access tier include short-term backup and disaster recovery data sets, older media content not viewed frequently anymore but is expected to be available immediately when accessed, and large data sets that need to be stored cost effectively while more data is being gathered for future processing. Now let's look into archive access tier. The archive access tier has the lowest storage cost, but it has higher data retrieval cost compared to the hot and cool tiers. Data in the access tier can take several hours to retrieve. Data must remain in the archive tier for at least 180 days or be subject to an early deletion charge. While a blob is in archive storage, the blob data is offline and can't be read, overwritten, or modified. To read or download a blob in archive, you must first rehydrate it to the online tier, and you can't take snapshot of a blob in archive storage. However, the blob metadata remains online and available, allowing you to list the blob and its properties. Example usage scenarios for the archive access tier include long-term backup, secondary backup, and archival data sets. Now let us look into some of the common questions related to storage tiers. First question could be, should I use blob storage or GPv2 accounts if I want to tier my data? Microsoft recommend you use GP version 2 instead of blob storage account for tiering. GP version 2 supports all the features that blob storage account supports, plus a lot more. Pricing between blob storage and GPv2 is almost identical, but some new features and pricing cuts will only be available on GPv2 accounts. Can I store object in all three, which is hot, cool, and archive access tiers in the same account? Yes, the access tier attribute set at the account level is the default account tier that applies to all objects in the account without an explicit set tier. Can I change the default access tier of my blob or GPv2 storage account? Yes, you can change the default account tier by setting the access tier attribute on the storage account. Can I set my default account access tier to archive? No, only hot and cool access tiers may be set as the default account access tier. Archive can only be set at the object level. Do the blobs in the cool access tier behave differently than the one in the hot access tier? Blobs in the hot access tier have the same latency as blobs in GPv1, GPv2, and blob storage accounts. And blobs in the cool access tier have a similar latency as blobs in GPv1, v2, and blob storage accounts. And blobs in the archive tier have several hours of latency in GPv1, GPv2, and blob storage accounts. Are the operations among the hot, cool, and archive tiers the same? All operations between hot and cool are 100% consistent. All valid archive operations, including get blob properties, get blob metadata, list blobs, and set blob tier, and delete blob, are 100% consistent with hot and cool. That concludes this episode. In the next lesson, we're going to look into Azure Data Platform end to end. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, take care.